We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Social Authority, Marketing Monday. It's your boys, Pat and Zach.
What's going on? How you doing today?
Welcome back. How we doing, man?
Doing well, man. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. You have a good weekend?
I had a great weekend. I was in Austin, Texas. I spoke at the Carl Allen Business Acquisitions event and then was MC for Logan Fulmer at his real estate acquisitions event. And we were just acquisitioning all weekend.
So you're rocking and rolling on the...
Just acquisitioning.
Well,
and I mean, the lesson from all of that was, dude, it's all about the people around you. There was a Harvard study. I just posted this. Peter McClendon, I think his name is, and he did studies for 25 years, and he says that 95% of your success is directly related to the people around you. And they call the people around you a reference group. So if your reference group is negative people with a negative attitude that are argumentative, that have never accomplished anything, that hate success, you're going to become that. Or if you hang out with successful people that are working hard, that are always finding solutions and finding ways to win and helping the people around them win, well, then that's what you're going to get. And so as you embrace the week this week, I would start to think very long and very hard about what your reference group looks like, because it's going to determine a lot about your results.
Oh, yeah, I definitely know that. After building a team for over 20 plus years, you start to realize even if somebody's been with you for a long time, sometimes they can become an anchor. So
there's no guarantees. And you always have to be aware, like you just said, of shifts in mindset, shifts in stability in certain categories. And you have to make sure that your output, I mean, you've been in this 20 years. I mean, somebody that's been with you for 18 or 19 years is going to expect that same level of communication and execution. And then if they're not getting it, they're going to be like, dude, Zach, what's going on, man? What? Yeah, this isn't normal. So, yeah, rock and roll.
Versa, it's not always necessarily on the leader. You do need the team to be aligned with the goals and expectations.
100%. And I think the team members, and I notice this, and they know it because I chew on them for it. It's like, I try to make it as easy for them as possible so that they can execute smoothly when I'm not looking. But at the same time, when I'm looking, well, production's really, really great. And so you have to make sure that someone's looking at all times and that person is trusted and respected by the group, because I can't look over everybody's shoulder every second of the day.
Well, you need to hold the production to a standard, definitely, too. And, when you do see issues or challenges, you need to address them head on at that moment, even when you're working with, within as well as with potential partners or vendors.
Yep.
Feedback is the best thing. Some people just think throwing in the towel or walking away is the best idea. The reality is fine tuning an approach is typically going to get you the most effective results long haul. So.
Absolutely. So what do we got on the ticker today? Eventually we'll be so organized we'll have a ticker on the screen. That's my goal. What do we got on the hot list today? I sent you a couple topics yesterday as well.
We'll see if that happens, but definitely, one of our listeners out there, Matthew Munson, with his map quality fencing. We're going to take a look quickly at his social media. We'll talk about Alani New and the Celsius acquisition, and basically a social media front brand going for $1.8 billion. And then Ferrari and how Ferrari caters to their fans. And they've built a brand that's not just about, of course, it takes money to join the club, but there's more than money when it comes down to it when you want a Ferrari, or at least what's being released.
Totally. And I think it's super important for people to think about what I think you're going to add when Ferrari comes along. And that's that I'm happier selling 100 Porsches a year than 1,000 Ford F-150s. I want to work with people who think and execute at the level of a high-end sports car. And so for me, that means everything I do from
Yeah.
my actions to the way I communicate, to the way we stream, to the way our production is, to the way we post, to the way that we communicate how easy social media is. It's got to be like a high-end sports car.
For sure.
Because that's what I want to attract. And so even in those rooms over the weekend, the Carl Allen rooms and the Logan Fulmer rooms, everybody knows I'm the social media video guy.
Yep.
And so that's good. You want to be known as the category leader or as an expert in that field every single place that you go without even needing to shake anyone's hand. By the time you're going to shake their hand, they already know who you are. And that's why we do these shows. That's why Social Authority Marketing Monday is so important, because we want you to be the Ferrari. So let's jump into these.
No, for sure. And we'll get into the audiences that you're around as well, because not to go jump the gun, but I was at a networking event in person and I recognized somebody just through social media. It'd be basically, associated friends, following them. And then I actually met them in person. So it was like I'd already met them previous to meeting them. It's pretty cool.
Dude, it's awesome.
To jump into, map quality fencing and, what Matt's done. So, been talking to him a little bit on the side, just about, checking out his social media, what he's been doing. He's jumped onto Facebook actively after, commenting on one of our videos. We started talking to him about what he could be doing. So he posted in the past, but now he's taking it to a whole new level. He's been building different portfolio pieces. So essentially, he can utilize it as a sales tool for people that he might be in current quotes with. He's showing off some highlighted before and afters of his actual work. And then he's also taking testimonials and overlaying them onto different photographs and videos that he's taking of his projects. So just simple actions. He's getting a lot of shares, a lot of comments, and a lot of likes. So it's really awesome to see somebody that's, been watching the show and started to apply some of the things that we talk about on a weekly basis to their own business. And essentially, it looks like he's starting to see some growth and starting to see some response and reaction.
Social media is free. Filming videos and posting them on social media is free. And so if you're looking for leads, or you're looking to generate revenue, or you're looking to grow a business or a brand or become a famous podcaster or streamer, you have to start with your face in front of the camera. There's no other way around it. And I think that people think that their voice isn't worth anything, or their message isn't worth anything, or I'm not making any money, so what do I know about business? It's like, well, then get on camera and ask somebody a question. I'm more than happy if you are out there and you have a question to post your question, and I'll send it to 6 or 7 really smart people I know and see if they'll post a video response to your question. If it's a good question, no one has any problem answering it. And so at that point, you need to think about what are the correct questions that I can ask someone that's got the experience that I need to get the results that I want. And that usually requires, and here's the hard part for people, it usually requires you holding yourself accountable for the actions, habits, and daily task list that you have that's getting you the current results. And you're probably going to have to alter that a lot if you want to move on to the next level. And that's where people struggle. They don't want to change. They don't want to do anything different. Matthew comes on here. He's putting in the work. I wouldn't be surprised if in 6 months from now, he had some video hit or got some connection or some opportunity that could potentially change his life.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, he's in a big market. He's up in the Midwest in Illinois. And essentially, when it comes around into season, spring and summer, he's probably going to be busier than he knows what to do with, because he's putting in the work now. The weather might not be the best to get out there and actually do some work, but it's also a great time for him to start to sharpen his axe and get out there and start to produce some videos, start to see the reactions in the marketplace. And the people that are sharing or commenting on his videos could be, suppliers or people that work with him, but they all have influence circles that are now going to start to see the videos that are essentially non-followers. So it's free impressions and it's free exposure. And he's starting to craft what type of pieces he's going to start to produce more and more as he goes into season. So starting to test the portfolio piece, the before and afters, the testimonials. And I'm sure he'll start to throw a few others into the loop, but you can see that his posting is becoming a lot more refined as he's testing specific elements to bring them, to the light and bring, future business into his reach.
Yeah, I
Pretty awesome.
mean, dude, what most people don't realize is you're probably going to need multiple touches from someone to purchase from you. And so that means that, especially on social media, the best way for me, this is just me, is I post on social media, someone messages me, and I get their phone number and I get in touch with them right off of the DM. I don't send them anywhere, especially if they're qualified and I know who the person is. The cool thing about social media is you can go look at somebody and find out exactly who they are by looking at their Facebook page. That's why I think Facebook is so important. A lot of people still dog on Facebook and act like Facebook Live or any of this is so old or irrelevant. People who say things like that are already out of touch because I can go live on Facebook and 5 other platforms at the same time. So why wouldn't I use this platform when it's where my core audience is? You got to think about, where's your core audience? Who is your buyer, and what value do they need from you to succeed on their own first so that they can hire you second? Most people just want to get hired so bad that they're practically begging for deals, and that's not the way to go about it. You want to provide people value enough to where they almost feel like they're getting results for free on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're going to buy your book or buy a ticket to your seminar or buy your services or whatever. And that's why we do this. We want to pump out as much value as possible first second of the week.
Oh, for sure. It's an information well. It's definitely, getting people into just the information cycle. It could take up to 30 impressions to actually make an impact. So you want to continue to produce content and pieces, see what people are reacting to, and then build from that. Also study some of the major influencers out there. Everybody thinks like this whole, like, there's like a whole reacts like aspect of channels right now or like social media. Mr. Beast was one of the first one with a major like reacts station or channel to my knowledge. And a lot of people have been applying it to the different fields. Like a lot of lawyers are taking specific videos of interactions or car accidents, and they're essentially creating reacts content and video. And that essentially originated with Mr. Beast content. So looking out there and looking at like what some of the leaders in social media are doing or some of the top influencers, you could definitely parlay that information and that content into your own brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and this is suggested by like all the creators, is go look at what people are doing that's working and then reformat for your message, your brand, your niche, your communication style. And so use what's already working, but then input your bullet points and your stuff, your style or your message. And that can help people with confidence too. And that's one of the things that we've been doing is we've been using AI to locate what people are talking about so that from the second I send someone topics to film videos to send into my company, I already know that these topics are pre-qualified from Google, from ChatGPT, from the trending websites as topics that people are talking about and searching for. So we're already starting with what's happening. And we go from there.
Sure. And, when you're building content, love it or hate it, you're going to have lovers and you're going to have haters. You're going to have critics. But if you're not making any noise, you're making no noise at all. So it's very important to just get out there and start producing. And when you start to get feedback, well, that's when people are actually starting to see your content and information. And that just means to start to double and triple down with what you're doing.
Absolutely. And that's the only way. I mean, like we're going to talk about here, Celsius bought, what's the name of that company? The other energy drink company?
Alani Nu.
Alani Nu. Yeah, that's how I pronounce it.
I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I think
maybe not.
You were much more familiar with it when I posted it up to you. My understanding is they have distribution in a lot of places as well, but
both of them
all
did.
got what's that? Yeah, Celsius as well, but Alani Nu really picked up its momentum on social media. So it was a fitness expert, this lady Katie Hearn, who essentially founded in 2018. And you could see if you look at her social media following, she continues to parlay, herself. She has a very humble approach. She has a family and a lot of interaction on there, and she's creating herself as an inspiration and a leader for families and her healthy lifestyle. And she launched this brand along the side of it. She built up with some major social media influencers, but also from looking at some more details as to what she was actually doing. She did have a lot of what we would call like lower to mid-level tier influencers in that 10,000 to 50,000 follower range or even under, essentially posting about the product and starting to get it out there. So it created this momentum and this wave to where she could actually penetrate the major influencers and get them to endorse her product as well. So, is definitely a strategy that was purely driven by social media. And if you look at her profiles, her critical profiles are Instagram and TikTok. Both have a little bit of a varying approach. But on Instagram, she's essentially the hero. The brand's actually smaller than her on Instagram. On TikTok, the brand is bigger than her and she's smaller than the brand. But
Wow.
essentially, that goes to show you with IG and TikTok, there's, I would say there's deviations in the approach that you might need to take, the strategy, like the same strategy and tactic doesn't necessarily purely work from one social funnel to the other. But
Right.
essentially, with that Instagram following and really building up, she had over 1.6 million followers on Instagram. And for Alani News, she has 1.2 million followers on
Mm.
Instagram. It goes to TikTok. She has 16,900 followers for herself and then 547,000 followers for her brand. So the brand carries a lot more clout on TikTok, but essentially on Instagram, the persona, the personality helps in floating the brand. And we've seen that in a lot of cases where essentially, the individuals carry a lot of float, and it just depends on the social funnel and the social channel
We
as to
were
how you.
literally just talking about this the other day on another episode of websites and brands and
Mhm.
people and personal brands, like personal brand versus business brand. And I think that they're both important. But for me, I have focused almost 110% on personal branding because Pat Hilton is the video MC guy. And so when people
Yeah.
hire our company, they're hiring Pat Hilton. And we're not a big enough company to where I've cloned myself and just worked my way out of the day to day stuff. In fact, there's most people that I know haven't. And there's this big thing on the internet that like you should never work in your company. You should only work on your company. But you better learn how to work in your company and on your company if you want a company. Because
No,
at
for sure.
the first steps, every Alex Hormozy or Gary Vee, who are probably way more successful than the people that most people are taking advice from, will tell you the first 5 to 10 years are potentially gonna be brutal when you're building a company. I'm sure 20 years ago, your company looked different than it does now, Zach, correct?
Oh, for sure. I mean, but look, it's always going to be evolving. I mean, look, we were all hit
Mm-hmm.
with the COVID era from what, 2020 to like 2023. And essentially that evolved the workplace, how people, report into the workplace. And yeah, that just evolved everything. So there's going to be unforeseen wrenches that are thrown at you that you essentially have you have no idea that they're coming. So you need to be building up yourself within those strengths. But that evolution of being like, I don't believe in absentee leadership, not at all.
Mm,
And that's what, some people preach. And I think that's, I don't believe in that. Like Warren Buffett still works at his organization. Mark Zuckerberg
totally.
still there. Bezos still, they're all very active owners and entrepreneurs that a lot of people look up to. So, it's in the DNA. Like once you start to craft and cultivate yourself to reach goals and to reach another level, essentially you're always going to be aspiring. I don't think anybody can necessarily take that from you. And it's like when those goals and objectives are removed is when you start to dwindle. So, it's like when you start to hit certain plateaus, it's like, well, what's the next level or what's that next goal and what's the why behind it?
Absolutely. And I think that one of the main reasons why some people get super duper results and other people watch those people is because they're willing to take risk, they're willing to build, and the other thing is they're willing to hire people. The only reason why we were able to do anything at scale at all over the last 3 years or so is because I started hiring people. And I mean, I have spent, and I'm sure you know this from your experience, a lot of money on people that didn't do a great job. Mm-hmm. Or that didn't want to show up or didn't want to work, or they worked for a while, then they didn't want to do it anymore. Or, and I think that managing teams and managing employees, you can't possibly expect other people to care about your business more than you unless you incentivize them to show up and deliver. And so we've really tried to focus on how can we create incentives within our system to help people understand, number one, that they're valued, and number two, that we need them to show up and deliver because we want to get paid and they want to get paid. And three, how are they rewarded for doing a better job than the competitor or the best job that they possibly can for the client? And I think that our retention rate as a social media company and agency is just what's really proven to be the sticker for us, because people like working with us. And I'm sure that's the same case for you. Or you wouldn't have been around for 20 years. This is the conversations, the young guys that want to know how to build a business. It's like, dude, it's just people. You got to find great people as clients and great people as team members.
Well, yeah, and definitely don't be absent from your operations, and definitely have a pulse on what's going on. We encourage meetings. We engage our clients a lot in meetings. Even when people fight it or potential clients fight it, it's like, look, we need to know what's happening on the front lines in order to, fine tune and get you the best results possible. So like the results that we get people in month 1 are not going to be the same results that we get you in month 16 or month 24. They're going to start to accelerate faster and further because more things are fine tuned. Every business is unique. There's a lot of big shops out there that try to tackle and gobble a lot of business in a specific area or specific thing, but they're really just putting you into a packaged approach. And I can tell you from working with a wide variety of lawyers in particular, from one city to the next, or even within the same city, the two things will not work exactly the same for the same practices. They are definitely going to be unique in reaction and response as any other business. Just look at Coca-Cola and Pepsi. The two things are just not identical. They're on the same shelves, but they have fans. Some of them have particular fans and attract a particular audience, and some don't. So it's business. To get it to the next level, it takes partnership, and it takes recurring meetings and touch points to really help somebody accelerate. Even us, we convene fairly often to talk about fine tuning or what's working, what's not working, and just evolving the message as we see the approach getting to the next level.
Absolutely. And like you said too, the second you start to hit the next level, the second that you start to produce results that are extraordinary, you're going to see a lot of people coming out of the woodwork that want a piece of the pie. And you're going to have to be really, really careful about protecting your time and your energy and your space, because you got to focus on those team members and focus on the operation and focus on building. And like my good buddy Tim Harridge says, the main thing is the main thing. Focus on the main thing. Because I think a lot of people get excited about a school community or this or that or the other thing, and they stop focusing on their actual business. Make the school community and then give people value and funnel them into your business. I mean, I don't think those are bad ideas, but you have to use it in a way that tool helps spike your victory in the main area.
Well, the main thing is the main thing, right? And it's even as we evolve or we're doing this as an activity, I've built my brand doing a lot of different things out there in the market. I've taken TV commercials, radio ads, billboards, all things within our local South Florida market to build up some of our core clients. And then essentially, as we've evolved and now we're in a new era, which is, 2025 and looking ahead, it's what's working in today's marketplace, or where are all the eyeballs? Are they on Facebook and Instagram? Are they on TikTok? Where is our audience? versus necessarily, putting resources into other places. The audience might not be the same place that they were 5 to 10 years ago. It's like we see, we keep bringing up the NFL and NBA, but they're kind of like an old guard at this point, or they're evolving out. They're grasping at straws to just become more relevant. The NBA's been floundering at, double-digit declines over the past, year plus, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And then the NFL, if they didn't grasp on the Taylor Swift, like they'd probably be seeing the same thing. And if they gave the Chiefs another Super Bowl, I think you would just see them continuing to rapidly decline. But their sport is, lacking fans, and people are more of a fan of a player and fantasy football than they are of the overall holistic picture, which is a problem for an organization if they're just,
I love it.
Look at these like tidbits, and they're not necessarily a fan of the operation itself.
So check this out. I love that you brought this up because ESPN and Major League Baseball Thursday night confirmed the end of the current rights deal. There was a March 1st deadline for Major League Baseball and ESPN to opt out of the final 3 years of the contract. It was a 7-year deal that was $550 million a season. And Major League Baseball was like, there's no value in this deal. And ESPN's got no viewers. What happens when they evaluate the NBA and realize they're spending billions on NBA stuff? Because no one watches the NBA. I haven't watched the NBA in 25 years.
I mean, look, there's people that watch it. I mean,
their viewership's way down.
Their viewership's way down because, the kids aren't necessarily, I would say, like, interested in that. I mean, they don't even, to say they have like a real influencer playing the sport that attracts 5 to 10-year-olds, like, no, they don't have an influencer.
Not right now, they don't. They did during the Kobe and Shaq era, and they did during the Jordan era. And I think even early LeBron, young LeBron, was kind of a phenom, but I think he's had an incredible career. He's one of the greatest players of all time, but people are just kind of tired of him.
Well, it's part on NBA and part on Nike to, like, come up with some new stars and make them shine. Like the LeBron star is definitely, it's dwindling. He's even trying to compete with them with his European basketball league. I believe that he's, starting to produce himself.
Which is weird because he's in the NBA.
It is weird because he is in the NBA.
Like, bro, you're in the NBA and you're going to launch your own basketball league? Then leave.
He can't leave because that's his influencer circuit. That's his platform.
Right. But it's even just so weird.
I was listening to something about, LeBron and, just getting on the team with Luka, and they're talking about how LeBron was going to be taking off like 2 games to like make it so he can have a 9-day rest period. Nobody gives a shit about a guy taking off of work to go to get a rest period before he has to go back to work. Like, that just doesn't exist in like real workforce. So as long as the NBA is focused on their, like, I don't even know what they call it. Was it rationing your energy? Like, I don't get it because it doesn't hit their bank accounts. So they don't ration that, right?
Right.
They're basically rationing the fans' interests, or like basically offending the fans by not showing up to work and essentially expecting everybody to be a fan go forward. I think that train's gonna, leave the. I think that train's already leaving the station, and the numbers are just, continuing to just evaporate in a way.
And then accessibility too. Like, they said that, I didn't even know this, but I guess NBA doesn't even use that John Tesh song anymore. So that was probably the beginning of the downfall for you guys when you canceled one of the greatest theme songs in the history of songwriting. Terrible call. Canceling the John Tesh NBA Roundtable Rock as the theme song for NBC broadcast. You guys blew it. It's no surprise that ratings are down.
Who's going to make plans and save money to go buy tickets for a game to watch a player that might not even decide to suit up and get on the court? I mean, let's be real. Like, you got to look at it from a fan's perspective. People knew Michael Jordan was showing up and Kobe Bryant were showing up. broke a limb or pulled a muscle and literally couldn't get on the court, they were showing up to the games. Look, there's still specific players in the NBA that like have that athletic prowess and like do show up. Like they play for the Celtics, like Tatum. And there's certain players in the league that still do it. It's
Hmm.
just time to make sure you're spotlighting them because the culture does need to understand like work and respect is critical to building up what you're trying to do on a ongoing basis, any organization, any company.
Hmm. I love it, dude. What else we got? Let me pull up some of these ads and see what ads we had. So we had this one. Let me add this one first. This
What's
Facebook
that?
one that you had.
Well,
Oh, this was Matthew. That was Matthew. There's
we were
Matthew.
looking at Matthew's work.
Go
so
follow Matthew, everyone. Matthew, you made it on the show. There you go. This guy, Matthew's trying to make it happen. He's got kids. Go support this man.
The second link is his business, and
Okay.
you'll see some of the most
It's a good looking logo.
doing. Essentially, he's got some clean posts there where he shows off his portfolio work. He's got a test post there, and then another highlight of his work. You can see the shares are rapidly increasing there. The likes,
Yeah,
the
they
engagement.
are.
And then after you continue to scroll down there, you just start to see, how the work is really kind of kicked up. That was work from a few months ago, previous posts, but you could see
Hmm.
there's really an evolution in the information that he's posting, the quality of the photos, and the focus of just like testing a specific regimen
I
and
love
getting the
it.
content there.
I love it.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the name of the game, is just putting yourself out there. I mean, you have to, or people can't find you.
for sure.
That's
For
great.
sure.
Let's go,
And
Matt.
then what's that?
I said, let's go, Matt. Get out there,
Yeah,
you
let's go,
know?
Matt. Great job out there for sure. Definitely. But to keep going forward, the Ferrari brand, there's been a lot of articles, continuing to come out about them and just like how they continue to build the brand and buck the trend of essentially, money being the way to just, acquire things. Essentially, Ferrari says, not necessarily, yes, you can have the funds and the money to buy our cars, but you also need to show loyalty to their brand, the
Hmm.
ability to continue to show up to specific events that they have and also show like a history and a track record of purchasing their vehicles. I mean, definitely, I don't think there's a brand out there that more people aspire to own. At least for men, when it comes to sports cars, I think Ferrari's definitely at the top of the food chain. Of course, there's
I mean, it's
Porsche
definitely
and
up there. There we go. There's a little Ferrari logo, huh?
Yep, yep.
I haven't figured out how
Yeah,
to do this stuff. Anyway, there we
that
go.
brand, that logo is definitely iconic. And, as they continue to build up, it's becoming more of a club than it is just the ability to buy in over there. So
Well,
essentially,
it's
if you
like
want
what you said. It's like what we said earlier. What's the reference group? If 95% of the people that you're around are Ferrari drivers, maybe they're entrepreneurs, they're have a successful marriage, a successful business, successful in the gym, they're taking care of their physique, their mental health, and they're driving nice cars and making money, hiring lots of people, creating lots of opportunities, that's what your life is going to turn into. So,
well,
those people,
definitely
that's
putting
how
into
they
that.
think.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's
And the
like I
brand
said,
represents that.
for sure, for sure. And they're continuing to build up those rungs and make the brand just more and more exclusive as, things continue to get more competitive. I mean, you even asked me, about like being in business for 20 years. It's like 20 years plus. It's like the reality is so many people have tried to like compete or like looked at us. It's not on it's not necessarily on the amount of time you're doing it. It's your ability to evolve and pivot to
Mm.
continue to garner the audience that you need to continue growing. It's not always going to be the same strategy and tactics that are going to get you through 2025 that worked in 2018. I assure you the same tactics in 2018 won't work necessarily, by themselves in 2025. It's just a hyper evolving landscape and we continue to see the needle just like continue to move.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like you said, iconic brands like Ferrari that have been around and stood the test of time and continue to be high-end, luxury, elegant, but they've got that American male, loud, aggressive, fast to it as well. They're not a soft brand. They're edgy.
No. Yeah. No, there's a lot of the brands, there's a lot of edgy brands out there, but it's also, the ones that stand the test of time do build followings and do build loyalty with their customers. It's not necessarily, like I said, it's not like a one-shot deal. And definitely, people do that with the Lamborghinis as well and the Porsche. They all have their clubs and their associations. But yeah, Ferrari continues to be highlighted more and more because they continue to push the boundaries on the pricing and control the aftermarket in a lot of ways that the other brands don't necessarily have the same control as.
Yeah, and like you said, I think that there is something special about someone that's got a really, really high price point. And the reason is people aspire to be able to earn enough money to purchase, and that is a milestone purchase for people. Rolex is that in the watch category, Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, maybe even Bentley or McLaren or that, Rolls Royce in the car category, depending on what kind of stuff you like. There are those milestone purchases. And, a successful entrepreneur, we see it all the time. I mean, the Lambo in the front of the house, that is a representation of a milestone purchase for that person. And I didn't understand it at first when I was just like first meeting people and they telling me about what the Lamborghini purchase meant and this and that and the other thing. I'm like, who cares? You know what I mean? I share a minivan with my wife and they were like, dude, and that's fine. That's awesome that you're doing that. But there will come a time where you're going to want something nice. And as hard as you've worked, you deserve it. When you start to talk to people that think like that, and then I did need my own car. I'm like, what am I going to buy? I didn't want a Honda Civic. I wanted the Porsche. And it was probably fueled by having those types of conversations. Dude, you're worth more. You're worth more. Yeah. You're worth more. You're worth more. And I think that anybody that's out there that feels like they're not making the money that they want, or they're not getting the results that they want, you have to start telling yourself that you're worth more, and you have to start doing more.
Yeah, I saw a post the other day because I follow a lot of Porsche pages, but definitely somebody posted, they're like, I don't talk about much, but like, or like, I don't go it at all, but I reached a specific milestone and I was able to get my first Porsche. And somebody had posted their picture on, Facebook. So I did say, congratulations. It's pretty cool. Definitely, for somebody to be doing that and
totally
be proud of their acquisition, because it's representative of who they are. And it's something they aspired for and aspired to, and were able to achieve. So
it's awesome.
It's awesome. We'll hit those goals. But definitely, I want to hit on a point that you had, mentioned a little bit earlier in the conversation when it comes to like the actual like audience that you're around, or like networking and building up. Mm-hmm. A lot of like I would say the starting point, like the interesting thing about social media right now is it is a starting point to building up an audience and a following, and even leads into traditional networking events. Because as I was saying to you when we first got started here today, I was at an event last Wednesday and I had never met the individual before, but I knew them from Facebook. I knew them from social media because they were friends with some of my friends through the networking. I'd started to follow them and start to follow some of their posts. So when I actually saw them in person, we were able to have a deeper conversation because it's like, you already kind of essentially knew the person. And I would say that social media is becoming like a time shaver, or even like a touch point shaver in a lot of ways, by helping you get those reps when you might have never been able to get those in front of individuals or an audience before.
Yeah, I think that the fact that these tools are so easily accessible for you to stream on social media, post videos on social media, the marketplace is giving you a signal and a sign to get on camera. There has never been a more obvious signal or sign ever in marketing or business history that is hitting people right between the eyes than right now. There is a vertical video tab on every single platform. There's a live stream tab on every single platform. These platforms want you streaming video, posting videos, and using the platform. And the best way to do that is to either plug into OBS, which is a free open source streaming software that you can use to do just what we're doing today. Or in my opinion, for Macintosh, it's Ecamm Live, which is what I use. Very stable. And it goes out to every single broadcasting platform. These Ecamm is paid and you can get free stuff for Mac too. But I could literally just plug into the Facebook streaming thing and it's free. Facebook for Creators. They literally built software for me and Zach to plug in equipment and go live on Facebook, and it's free to use. So I think that there's a huge disconnect between the results people want and their ability to communicate to the marketplace what they offer. If you can't communicate what you offer, you can't get the results. You got to get on camera. The signals and the signs are everywhere.
Oh, for sure. The most powerful offices in the world right now are overtaken through social media. And the biggest influence is happening. I mean, we talked about the White House last week and the level of production that they're putting in.
Incredible.
Social media, like you're never going to see that go backwards, essentially. I mean, they're putting out better production than some of the major networks when it comes to an action movie. So it's or an action show. It's definitely very, very interesting to see and watch, you know, and it's going to continue to evolve.
Speaking of the major networks, Zach's going to love me for this one, but we talked about how mainstream media and mainstream news, all of them. Okay. So don't rat me for this one, folks. Fox, CNN, MSNBC, any of them, people aren't watching anymore. They don't trust traditional media. And I said, how does Rachel Maddow and how does Joy Reid still have a job when they're so terrible? Well, Joy Reid was just fired over the weekend. So there you go. I just wanted to say Joy Reid was fired from MSNBC over the weekend. And that, in my opinion, she is a terrible show host. And I would do a way better job. And so if you guys would like to have Zach and Pat Marketing Monday on your MSNBC channel, we would be happy to take that slot. I mean, do you agree, Zach? Are you with me? You're going to back me up on this or what?
For sure.
We will totally keep it clean. We'll keep it dual-sided. We'll even bring on guests that have opposing views so that we can have a good conversation, because I think that's important. So just wanted to go on record and just say, you know, Joy, it's been a hell of a ride. Good luck in the future.
Hey, man, you know, definitely on to the next one.
On to the next one. What other topics we got?
No, it's just like we were saying, just the power and the importance of social media and just, you know, just digital in general, just being out there, the ability to create just, you know, impressions on people is
incredible.
You know, it's with reach. Yeah.
And dude, even back to her, like Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox News. Same way Joy Reid just got fired from MSNBC. Tucker Carlson used it as an opportunity to build his own brand on X, his own show, his own streaming. He gets way, way, way more views than Fox News was ever getting with him as an anchor. And in my opinion, that's what Joy Reid should do. If she's smart, she'll surround herself with good people, start a broadcasting crew, her own show, her own thing, and come back to her audience with that and be better than she's ever been. If she takes that opportunity, I think that would be smart. Tucker Carlson already proved it's possible. So we're not here to just dump on her. Yeah. I think she's got an opportunity right now to get really, really good, really, really fast and show her audience, or even people like me that might be doubters or a little bit of a hater, that she's the real deal. So let's see what she does.
I mean, she has to take action, and she has to take big action fast, and I'm sure she will. So, you know, to leverage her audience onto social media streams, I'm sure she's not finished.
No, not at all. But this stuff is so cool because it opens the door to see, you know, who's really got the juice and who doesn't. And that's what social media does. It's the great equalizer.
For sure. It's definitely the market to be doing it in.
Totally. So, all right. Final thoughts, Zach. What do people need to do this week to get in alignment with their goals and make it happen?
Well, first off, you have to have goals, but beyond setting your goals,
have some goals, people. Write your goals down.
Write your goals down, even if they sound a little ridiculous at this stage. Like, I assure you, if you start to write them, you'll start to achieve them.
Totally.
But definitely, start to do activities that's gonna allow you to reach those goals and start to, measure. Even if it's one thing this week, it's still a huge step in the right direction.
Absolutely, dude. If you guys out there do one thing different every day for the next 7 days, you will see a difference by next Monday. No doubt.
Just as the first step on the moon was, is one step that became a giant leap for mankind, right? So,
dude, Zach is so good at all of that kind of stuff. It's so true. You can pull so many instances where historical moments happened where the entire world was watching. And that door is now open for anybody now because you've got access to the entire planet on these platforms. So use it. Put yourself out there and make something happen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for Zach Hoffman, I am Pat Hilton at Social Authority Marketing Monday. You can follow us on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. Just type in Pat and Zach, and all the episodes are there. You can rewatch them. You can share them with friends. And I will try to clip out that segment for Mr. Matt so that he can use it as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Pat.
Rock and roll.